Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Reftaco, and today we are back with another video, and the season is near. We are 15 days away from kickoff as I am recording this, probably about 10 or 11 by the time that you're watching this. And with that comes my season-long record predictions. I'm doing all 32 teams, 17 games. Obviously, that's how football works. Before we get into the main part of the video, yes, all right, your team is not going to be as high as you expect. Womp womp. Debate with me in the comments, especially because I won't make the video too long, explain, everything about every team. But, yeah, debate with me in the comments because I'm going to win. Let's get into it. We will start off in the AFC North. Coming in last place in that division is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with them being in last place, they're still going to be 9-8. The Steelers will find a way. The Steelers will always be a competent team that late in the season, usually they pick up some fire, pick up a couple wins. Here's the issue. I really like the Steelers team this year. I think that in a normal year with a normal schedule, they could maybe get 10 or 11. But the end of their schedule is a buzzsaw. It is going to be so hard to get that late season surge. So I think early season they are going to do really well. They're going to do better than most Steelers teams that we see. But yeah, 9-8, it's still going to be a super good season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I have the Browns at 10-7, just missing the playoffs. The Browns were a really good team last year. I do think that we'll see a little bit of a regression because the schedule gave them quite a couple easy wins. And also, I just think that a lot of things went well for the Browns. Yes, injuries did not, but you got a lot of teams at their weaker points. I don't see you getting that this year. You have a hard schedule, as I said. 10-7, though, still a really successful season for the Browns in general. And sneaking in as the 7 seed will be the Cincinnati Bengals at 10-7. It's the same record, but they'll get something over the Browns, some tiebreaker somewhere. Bengals are a really solid team. Obviously, everybody knows that. Last year had some injury issues, but they still just barely missed the playoffs. I think if they stay healthy, they can go a pretty long way and have a pretty successful year. But 10-7 is going to be where I have them. Then the number 1 seed in the AFC, it's going to go to the Baltimore Ravens at 12-5. The Ravens are a really solid team. Everybody knows that. They were a super solid team last year. I wouldn't say that they lost many real important pieces, and they got Derrick Henry, who I think will fit very well with the Ravens. It's always a very well-coached team. Another team that kind of picks up steam as the season rolls on most years, or they get riddled with injuries. But, yeah, I think that the Ravens can do really, really well. Then you move on to the AFC West. Last place in the AFC West is going to go to the Denver Broncos at 4-13. I'm sorry. I don't think that Denver is going to have a great year. The AFC West, it isn't really a big issue except for all those teams just beat up on the Broncos mostly. When you look at the Broncos, it's not a great roster. Definitely offensively. Defensively, they can be all right, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a great year. Bo Nix is going to go through some growing pains, as every quarterback does. 4-13, but it's going to be okay in Denver. Then you got the Raiders. The Raiders will be going 7-10. I think that the Raiders were really a pretty decent team at the end of the year. They kind of pushed late in the season. They were kind of out of it. Antonio Pierce came in. The team played better. I do think that there is definitely a quarterback concern. I thought Gardner Minshew was the guy, but the reports in the preseason games are kind of telling me no. I still think that the Raiders can look decent. It's just a hard schedule, a hard AFC. And I think that they're just going to end up with 7 wins. You got the Los Angeles Chargers. I have them going 8-9. Jim Harbaugh, really solid coach that you are getting in there. Much better than Brandon Staley. But besides that, what's really going for this team? What was going for this team last year was their offense. At least what we thought was their offense, but no, everybody's gone now. Now they don't have a great offense. They're going to have to rely on the run game. But at the same time, it is the Chargers. They still have done really well in the past, a lot because of their defense. I think that this team can still do pretty well, get 8 wins. Bring in the 2 seed to the AFC. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs are good. They're 12-5. They're a good team, okay? Because that's what the Chiefs do every year. They become a good team. We don't have to explain a lot about the Chiefs. A lot of good players, good coaches. A hard schedule, but like duh, and they're gonna be able to get over it, get 12 wins. There'll always be a point somewhere in the season where we're like, oh, is the Chiefs? Nah. No, they're not. They're the Chiefs. They just do Chiefs things. Then you move to the AFC South. Last place in the AFC South is the Tennessee Titans. I have them going 7-10. I think that the Titans, they really have built a solid core. It is Will Levis's team. If Will Levis does really well, there's nothing telling me that this team can't make the playoffs. They have Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, good receiving core, a solid enough defense. The Titans can really go far. I don't really know if that's going to happen, but they have a lot of good pieces set in stone, but it's a hard division. I see 7 wins. You got the Jags at 9-8. They missed the playoffs. The Jags are, again, another really solid team. They got rid of Calvin Ridley, but, they replaced him with some okay guys. Other than that, you're basically running back the same team from last year. Last year's team, it was really good early in the season. Didn't really get better. Obviously it got worse, but I think they're going to come back. You're going to have another all right season. Successful for the Jags, 9-8. You got the Colts scooping up the 6th seed at 10-7. The Colts are going to be a really solid team this year. I love the way that the team is built, from Anthony Richardson to Jonathan Taylor to Shane Steichen. The way that the defense is built, I think, is really good. Colts always come in and surprise teams. At least they did it last year. They do it a lot in the past with Andrew Luck. But the Colts, they're always just going to be sneakily in there, and I think that they get a playoff spot this year that they probably should have got last year. And locking up the 3 seed is the Houston Texans. Texans have a great team. They're going to finish 11-6 because, again, it is a hard division. It is a very hard schedule for the Texans. But, the Texans offense, they're going to perform great. The Texans defense is going to perform good enough. And, I think that the Texans, they're going to be a good team. They're going to be 11-6. You move on to the AFC East, and the team at the bottom, much different than the other 3, 4-13 for the Patriots. For some reason, they had a bad season last year, and they're just going to blame it on their, 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach and re-sign every single one of their guys. I do think that they're building something good on that offense. I like Brissett. I like just what's going on in there. But 4-13, that's really the best I got because it's a hard schedule, and Patriots aren't good. You got the Jets. I have them at 9-8, missing out on the playoffs. Listen, this team could be great. All right, you miss Hassan Reddick. I'm guessing that Hassan Reddick is not coming back, whether they trade him or he just holds out the whole year. But the defense, it was still a really solid defense last year. The offense is getting, Aaron Rodgers back. It's going to be a pretty solid team in New York. But again, it's a hard schedule. And you're the Jets. You're not going to make the playoffs anyways. Everybody knows that. And you got the Bills locking up the 5 seed at 10-7. All the wild card teams I have at 10-7 because that's the way that it worked. Bills, they have a pretty solid roster. They got rid of everybody in the secondary, and they got rid of some of their receivers. But besides that, Stephon Diggs, But besides that, it still is a very good Bills team, a Bills team that has overall been successful. I know that a lot of it might be because of Diggs, but at the same time last year when Diggs was declining, the team went better. And I think that they can ride that this year to a pretty good 10-7 season. And just above them in the 4 seed, also with a record of 10-7, is the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, they're good. Last year, and kind of the year before that. Early in the season, they start out hot, and then they kind of get on a cold streak near the end. I think that that'll probably happen again this year. That's just how the Dolphins are, how the weather is for the Dolphins, how, Mike McDaniel comes out here with all this new crazy stuff and catches people off guard that might catch on to it. But the Dolphins, they're still going to have a really successful season. They're still going to win this division. And it is the NFC. In the NFC North, the last place team is the Minnesota Vikings, but I have them doing better than a lot of people expect at 8-9. Vikings, yes, they lost J.J. McCarthy for the season. I would rather have Darnold in there anyways. I don't get why people don't like Sam Darnold. I mean, yeah, he's not a great quarterback, but he's serviceable. When you have Justin Jefferson and the plan is Jefferson open, throw ball to Jefferson, it's going to work, all right? And the Vikings, they still have a pretty solid team around them, still have a good defense. I think that the Vikings are going to be a fine team, but they're not going to be a great team. It's going to be 8-9. You got the Bears at 8-9 as well. The Bears, I mean, they got to find some way to mess this up, right? But Bears, they do look like they have a pretty solid offensive core. It seems like the issue now with the Bears might possibly be the defense, but the Bears, yes, they're kind of in a tough position. Do I think Caleb is still going to have his growing pains? Yes, that's what happens in football. That's what you see less in the preseason because you're still going up against basically, really good college defenses, about that level of skill. But I think that the Bears, they're going to be fine, but they're not going to be amazing. They're not going to shock the world. And you got the 5 seed Green Bay Packers. The Packers, I mean, they have a really solid young core developing. Everybody knows it. They had a really good year last year. Came on at the end of the year. Jordan Love played amazing. I think that that'll continue. Yeah, you got some hard games in there. That's why you're going to be 11-6. It's not going to be perfect because it never can be perfect, but it still is going to be a pretty good season. Then, do I dare say the best record in the league is going to go to the Detroit Lions at 13-4, the 1 seed. The Lions have everything cooking for them in the right way. They have 4 great offensive linemen and a 5th guy that I don't know about. They have a good tight end, good wide receiver, good running backs, 2 good running backs, quarterback that knows what he's doing very well, a very solid game manager, basically, and a very solid defense. I don't see how this team can't be really good, barring injuries, but this team is going to be special in Detroit, bringing those fans something. And yes, I know the Lions could line the way the Bears, and the Jets, but maybe they don't. And last year they didn't. And this is a brand new Lions team, and they're going to be like that this year. Move on to the NFC West. Last place there is going to be the Cardinals at 5-12. Cardinals looked better, at least when Kyler Murray was in their back there last year. You're going to get him for another year. Cardinals are going to look solid, but it's kind of going to be the same thing as last year. They're going to lose a lot of close games probably due to, coaching, Jonathan Gannon, and just other stuff. 5-12, it's going to be hard for the Cards. Then you got the Seahawks at 8-9. Seahawks, I don't get why a lot of people think that the Seahawks are just like an awful team. They're not. They're still going to be a competitive team. They're still going to play a lot of really solid games with a lot of teams. I just don't see them being as good as, the other teams in the NFC and in the league and teams on their schedule. So, yeah, 8-9. It's going to be a solid season for Seattle because it's a solid team. You got the Rams scooping up the 6th seed at 9-8. The Rams are a pretty solid team. They're going to drop off a little from last year because of a guy named Aaron Donald that wrecked games that you are losing. And the defense is a big question for me, but the offense, I think, should be and can be top 5 in the league with Kyren, with Cooper Kupp, with Puka. They're going to be a great offense. Defense might struggle a little, but what you need is offense, and it's going to get you 9 wins. You got the Niners. They're going to lock up the 2 seed at 12-5. Niners are a really solid team. Everybody knows it. They got Brock Purdy at quarterback, who does what he needs to do to all of his big threat receivers and running backs and tight ends and Trent Williams, who might not be there, and Brandon Ayuk might not be there. But I do think that both of them will come to their senses with the Niners. And its team will be, solid, sadly. I hate the Niners. You've got the NFC South, and we're going to start it off with the Panthers at 5-12. What the Panthers are looking for is improvement, and I think that what you'll get is improvement. You're going to see a better team than you saw last year. Will that amount to, something big? No, but it's better than what you see last year. That's exactly what I just said. They're going to be not a great team, but they're going to be solid compared to, years before in Carolina buffoonery, whatever's going on down there. And you got the Saints. I have the Saints going 7-10. Yes, I know everybody's like, oh, they're going 8-9 or 9-8. That's it. But the Saints, I don't see a lot of great things with the Saints, to be honest. That's why I have them at 7 wins. Carr is going to be Derek Carr. The receivers are going to be the receivers. Kamara is going to be Kamara, but a little bit worse than the year before, like the past 5 years have been. Defense, I don't see why everybody loves the defense. Or I don't think that everybody loves the defense, but I don't think that it's a great defense. Rashid Shaheed, he's fast though. Like Rashid Shaheed a lot. You got the Bucks. I have them going 8-9. Yes, it was a really solid end of the year last year. Yes, you kept basically every one of your guys, but it's going to be a hard schedule in first place. You're going to deal with, a lot of tough things. And overall, it's not like the team last year was amazing. They were good, but they won a lot of games lowly, closely, against some not so great teams. They're losing Canales, which is big, but otherwise they're still the Bucks. They still have a pretty good core surrounding. They're still going to be a pretty decent team at 8-9. And you got the Falcons. They're going to be the 4 seed at 9-8. They're going to sneak in there. There is a scenario where everything with the Falcons goes right. The Falcons got a lot of good defensive pieces. They already have had good defensive pieces. And then you're adding Kirk Cousins to the offense. He's going to be a big wild card. Coming off of an Achilles at 36. And also, will just Cousins fit in? Which he probably will. It's a McVay-type offense, I know, which they ran in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure O'Connell came from the Rams. But the Falcons, if everything works, it could be really well. I don't know if everything will work, but 9-8 is still going to be a successful season. You're still going to win your division. Then you're in the NFC East with the New York Giants, and the worst team in the league, 3-14. I don't see anything good going on with the Giants. Daniel Jones, I think he's horrible. He looked horrible last year. He looked horrible in the preseason. I don't think that he's good. You got rid of the only good part of your offense. The only thing that brought you to a little success in 2022. It was a good season. And that was Saquon Barkley, and he's gone now. And the Giants, they're gonna suck. Yeah, isn't really a better way to sugarcoat it. And you got the Commies at 5-12. It's kind of the same thing. They have Jaden Daniels, they have Terry McLaurin, they have a pretty solid backfield in Eckler and B-Rob. Defense, it's all right. It's getting worse from, the Washington football team. Pretty good defenses that they had. But it's not going to be a great team. Everybody kind of knows that. Your offensive line stinks. It's going to be hard for the Commies, 5-12. It's a rebuilding year. Everybody knows it. As long as Jane Daniels looks good, you get some improvement. That's what you care about. You got the Cowboys. They're going to sneak into the 7 seed at 8-9. Yes, the NFC is definitely not as stacked as the NFC. You get a bunch of these 8-9, 7-10 type of teams in the NFC. And the Cowboys are going to be the one that benefits because, I don't know, some tiebreakers I made up. And because they're the Cowboys, the NFL, they're going to find a way to make some weird tiebreaker, put them in the playoffs. Cowboys, yes, they have Dak. Yes, they might not even have CeeDee Lamb. The start of their schedule is tough, even if they do have CeeDee Lamb. And I don't see what is great about this team. Their running game's probably going to suck. Their defense is going to be okay. 8-9. That's what's going to happen because you still have Dak, who's pretty good. Everybody else, all right, 8 and 9. And the last team picking up the 3 seed, my Philadelphia Eagles. Why do I say 11-6? Because if I said anything higher, y'all would complain with me. But also, you're probably going to find some roadblocks in the way, roadblocks in the schedule. That's what's going to happen in football, especially with a very new team. Seems like the offense is playing lights out, the defense not as much. Um, everybody knows about this team. They had a really good season 2 years ago. Last year looked really good. Not really looked really good. Had some ugly losses, ugly wins, and then ugly losses. Uh, yeah, the Eagles 11-6, 3 seed. It's gonna be, I guess, a good enough year. And that is gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see y'all later. Peace.